Hello again, I am Blunty, and for the past 2.5, 3 years-ish, I've done precious little content creation, or shooting of any kind really, not even recreational, outside of this tiny corner of my tiny apartment that I rather amusingly refer to as my home studio, because home studio sounds a lot cooler than tiny corner of my tiny apartment where all my camera stuff clutters up the place and I can barely find any floor space to stand, let alone work. But that's all about to change. The world is getting a bit back to normal after the global event. Big events are starting to run again, including PAX Australia, which I'm so excited to get back to. It's been way too long, like 2 years off. And I love PAX Australia. It's got such a good vibe. It's Australia's biggest and best entertainment video gaming expo. I get to go down there and see all my friends. Some of my best friends in the world just live in Melbourne, where PAX happens, so I never get to see them, really, unless I have an excuse to go down to Melbourne. And PAX is a brilliant excuse to go down to Melbourne. So I'm really excited about that. But because I haven't shot anything outside of this tiny corner of my tiny apartment in almost 3 years, it means I have to recheck in on all my support equipment for my run and gun bag. The stuff I use when I'm out and about that just doesn't come into play in the studio here, where I just have permanent lights and cameras and stuff set up, just go flick, away we go. That includes stuff like the Gorillapod. Hey, I did that blind. And I was half expecting to go whoosh, and but now I've called attention to it, it's not as cool anymore. The Gorillapod, which I have been using since Gorillapods were a thing, basically. Since the very first versions I've been using these things. I've had a whole bunch of these little ones for lights and microphones and iPhones and GoPros and whatnot. I used to have like 5 or 6 of these damn things floating around. This is the last surviving member, I think, because, well, they're tiny and they're, not particularly robust, and they tend to wear out with active use after about 2 or 3 years. So the last surviving member of my little family of tiny Gorillapods. But it's the big ones that are the true workhorse of my run and gun setup. I use these for all kinds of things, not just for mini tripods or not just for the selfie stick kind of thing, but if it's just the right length, you can sort of butt it up against your shoulder like that and hold your camera like that, give you an extra point of contact, makes your camera work a little bit more stable when you're doing moves and stuff like that. It's really, really awesome thing, and I love these to bits, and I don't think I've ever gone on a shoot without them, actually. My very first one was the Focus, which was a big honkin' chunky thing of a thing, capable of holding up to 5 kilos. It was designed back in the days where people were still shooting with, the old steam-powered cameras that had mirrors in them. DSLRs, I think they were called once upon a time. Never really loved them for shooting videos because they weren't designed for shooting videos, really. It was just kind of a hack to get them to shoot video, but that's what we had for a while, and because they were so big and clunky and heavy, and their lenses were big and clunky and heavy, we needed big and clunky heavy support equipment, including the Focus. And my Gorillapod Focus lasted for about 7 years. The last couple of years of its life, it was looking a bit ragtag. Like, it's just falling apart. All the little rubber grommets around the side were just sort of crumbling away and decaying to the ages of time. But all the ball and socket joints still, held up really nicely. But there came a point where it's just too raggedy to really shoot with. It wasn't a particularly professional look when half your equipment is flaking away as you're shooting. So I had to replace it, and I replaced it with this, the Gorillapod 3K. And this one actually came with this little ball head, but I don't like this little ball head. I mean, it's fine, but it's not nearly as good as the ball head that came with the Focus, which was a much more significant thing and came with a removable plate and everything, a little screw mount and Arca Swiss compatible and all that. So it was just more robust, and so I switched out the plate. And the 3K, as the name would imply, was capable of holding up to about 3 kilos of camera equipment on the top, 2 kilos shy of the Focus. But by the time this came out, we were all moving over to shooting with mirrorless stuff, which is lighter cameras, lighter lenses, so it was all well and good. 3 kilos was enough for just about anybody, unless you were going super weird extreme with your camera equipment. And at that point, you want to invest in some more robust support equipment anyway for that kind of job, if you're using that much equipment, trying to balance it on top of one of these things. The 3K, however, did not last nearly as long as the Focus. It was just not built as well. The ball joints, after a couple of years, started to get very, very loose, and this thing will not hold up any serious camera anymore. It just slips and slides, and every single leg has a loose joint. Oh, that one's especially loose. Look at that. That's not supposed to do that. That's supposed to stay in place rather more robustly than that. That's the problem leg right there. It's to amputate. And I'm not alone in complaining about the 3K. These things became really, really popular with vloggers on YouTube after some of the sort of higher profile vloggers like Casey Neistat, rather famously, was singing the praises for a while, until he too suffered what I had discovered and started complaining about his Gorillapod starting to slip and slide, and he actually left quite a lot of shots in his vlogs of his camera just going whoop, and falling over because, well, one, it's kind of amusing to watch that happen live because you have to rush to the camera. You know, it's a bit of entertainment value, but yeah. But yeah, the likes of Casey and you know, all those other high-profile vloggers and their fanboys who followed them around and bought the same equipment they used and everything quickly found out that these were a bit rubbish long-term. So mine's been basically unusable for about 2 years now, but I haven't needed it in 2 years because of the event. So I hadn't bothered replacing it. Not a high priority to spend money on new gear when you're not using new gear, but I am using new gear now. So I hopped on Amazon to see what the prices were like these days. And, you know, just wanted to buy this bit because I already had the ball head, which would make it a bit cheaper as well, which you can do, by the way. You don't have to buy it with the ball head. And I discovered something. In my absence of outdoor shooting, Joby had redesigned their line. I mean, they still have the Gorillapods, you know, as they stand like this, but they introduced something new. Gone are the ball and socket joints, and in come a rubber sheathed bendy leg kind of design. And they call it the Podzilla. And somehow they released it late last year and didn't get sued into oblivion by the Pokemon company because that's obviously a Pokeball. Anyone can tell that's a Pokeball. And Pokemon Company and Nintendo and Game Freak are a little bit protective over their trademarks. So the fact that Joby got away with this is kind of amusing to me. I mean, it's got nothing to do with video games, which is probably why they got away with it. If it was anything related to video games, they probably would have been lawyered to death already. And I've got two versions of this, confusingly named medium and large, not small and large. So presumably at some point in the not too distant future, they'll introduce a smaller version similar to this with that same new bendy leg design. Unfortunately, the large doesn't come with the Pokeball design, and as a Pokemon fan, I would have rather appreciated that. So only the medium ones come in the Pokeball design, but I needed the large one, so I got the large one. So, you and me right now, we're going to open this up live and see my first impressions of how this is going to feel. I did a little bit of research before I spent the money on this instead of just buying something that I knew already worked, but would only last me like maybe 2 years. So I'm hoping this will be a little more robust long term. Maybe that's why they did the redesign. You know, maybe they got sick of people complaining about this thing, so they redesigned the entire leg thing. But these are a little more flexible. The ball and socket joints are very good, and they've got, you know, grips around that. But these ones have grips all the way down the legs, and are supposedly a lot more flexible, allowing you to get a grip on more surfaces a little more tighter. So, that made an unpleasant noise right in the microphone. Sorry about that, guys. All cardboard packaging. That's nice. No little plastic crap inside. And okay, so first impression. That rubber coating feels nice and grippy. It feels very, very similar to that kind of rubber you find on the handles of like cricket bats and tennis rackets and bicycle handlebars and stuff like that. You know, objects I've not touched since I was a child because obviously I don't play sports. But that kind of rubber. So it's not sticky, but it is grippy. And, oh yeah, sure enough, you can wind these things quite tight. Now, my fear is that obviously inside here there is some sort of metal, a very pliable metal. It's quite stiff as well. So yeah, it should hold its shape under quite a lot of weight, I imagine. But yeah, my worry is with any metal that bends like that, it's going to fatigue over time. So if you bend it in the same spot over and over and over and over again, it's just kind of weaker and weaker and weaker in that spot. Presumably, Joby have done their materials research and have chosen some sort of blend or alloy or metal that doesn't weaken significantly over time, or at least not rapidly. I don't know whether you can hear that, but it does rather squeak and creak when I move it about. But then again, so does this thing because of all the plastic on plastic action. Not a huge fan of this. See, with the Focus and with the 3K here, they came with a proper 3/8. What's the large one? I put it on screen, I forgot it wrong. 3/8 little screw mount, which is extremely common in camera gear. That's the kind of big brother to the 1/4-20 that's everywhere. And with that, you can put on whatever ball head or whatever you like, basically on there, because a lot of you know, good quality camera equipment comes with that connection on top. But this is all integrated, and it's got a little screw ball head here. So you screw that up, tighten it up, and that actually grips pretty tight. When I saw the pictures, I was a bit worried that it was going to be like this thing, which is their, I forget the name of this thing. It's a little grippy tripod thing. So it's got 3 little legs, and they fold up, but they're not symmetrical. They fold up with a hand grip style thing. So it's designed for vlogging like that. And I never used this after I got it. Came with another package I got, you know, as an accessory kit thing. But I never ever used it because the ball joint on this See that? That's not supposed to slide around. You're supposed to press this button, move the ball head around. When you release the button, it's supposed to lock in place, but it is so low on friction, it can't hold anything significant. A microphone, a light, a mobile phone, which is probably what they're primarily designed for. But any kind of proper camera equipment that I wanted to use, it just wouldn't sit still on this thing. I hated it. So when I saw this, I was afraid that it would be the same sort of thing, but no, this is a slightly higher quality one. It's still a lot of plastic on here, and alloy, very lightweight alloy stuff, but we can at least tighten it down, and sure enough, it doesn't move. Next question is, can we get this Joby exclusive, proprietary head off? It looks like it might screw off, but I don't know. Also, yeah, I think that's just molded in there. That's a lot shorter than the old one. Where's my old one? There it is. So this is the one that came with the 3 case, similar design, but it's a lot short. Actually, it looks like it should be compatible. So can we go and, is this going to secure? Oh, that's good. Okay, well, it's a bit rattly, but it should be enough. So, okay. So I've got a bubble head on this, and you've got a bubble head on the here as well. Although once you get a camera on, that's going to be hard to see. So, at least it's backwards compatible with some of the old hot mounting shoe things there, but I would really rather this so I can put on whatever ball head or pan tilt head that I like. I mean, you still can screw it on top of this, but that's a bit clumsy and awkward, and it's not going to be very secure, but it is what it is. And so actually, what's the length like? Yeah, it's about the same, actually. It's slightly longer. Well, let's get with the ball head accounted for, it's exactly the same size. So my old technique of butting it up against my shoulder and having the camera sit right about there should still work fine, and it doesn't feel like that's going to flex on me when I'm trying to press it in there. So yeah, I'm going to give this a go in the field in a couple of weeks' time at PAX Australia. Subscribe, bell, all the things. If you want to stay tuned for that, I'll let you know how it goes in the field, as well as a couple of other accessories that I got. I needed a new tripod, and very specifically a very travel tripod that compacted down very, very small, but also came up to at least my eye level, because a lot of travel pods that are small don't do that. So I've got a very cool solution for that I want to show you, but I think I'll keep that one until PAX, where I can show it in the field properly. So first impressions of the new, not Gorillapod, what are they called? Podzillas. The Gorillapod stuff is still available if you'd rather get that. They haven't stopped selling these ones. These are just a new additional design. They're calling the Podzilla. So, yeah. Well, I mean, the feet are quite grippy, but my table is also quite slippy. Thanks for watching. I am Blondie. I'll catch you next time. Let me know what else you're curious about as far as my field kit is concerned. It's been a very long time since I've done a what's in your bag shooting kind of thing, so maybe we're a bit overdue for that. But yeah, if you're curious about anything else I'm shooting with in the field at PAX, let me know. I've got a few feelers out for some things I want to test in the field, but it depends on whether those brands are going to come back to me and go, here, have this to play with, or not. If you don't ask, you don't get. So anyway, thank you to the patrons scrolling up above there who bought this for me this month, essentially, as well as the tripod. Thank you, guys. Very, very helpful to have that little extra support money coming in so I can afford to buy new gear when I need it, because my existing travel tripod, wait until you see it, it's fallen apart. Ooh, I've had to MacGyver that thing. Barely usable. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.